Hi, this is Jim Sandher with Everfi, and welcome to this quick learning lab. In today's session, I'm going to give you access to 5 different high school financial wellness resources so you can hit the ground running with a really well-rounded playlist of activities for your students. I'll give you a quick preview of each resource, highlighting some of the key lessons and topics that are covered. Then I'm going to walk you through setting up your Everfi account so that you can access your teacher dashboard. I'll show you how to add all of these different courses and create the playlist for your students so they can get started working right away. The building blocks of this playlist or bundle or suite of resources are the 5 different online self-paced resources from Everfi. So those 5 resources are Everfi Financial Literacy, Venture, Entrepreneurial Expedition, Money Moves, Modern Banking and Identity Protection, Pathways, Financing Higher Education, and Marketplaces Investing Basics. Let's start by taking a look at Everfi Financial Literacy. The first course here, Everfi Financial Literacy, consists of 7 lessons that are about 20 to 30 minutes each, but keep in mind that these are self-paced modules, so some students will move through them a little bit more quickly than others. It's going to basically give your students a comprehensive overview of financial wellness topics. So they're going to go through lessons that cover banking basics, income and employment, budgeting, consumer skills, managing credit and debt, financing higher education, and insurance. Now that you've seen some of the course details, let's actually jump into the course itself to see what the student experience looks like. We're going to hop into the budgeting lesson first. Students get a quick preview of all the different topics covered. One thing to keep in mind is that the entire course is read aloud for students. I just turned that off so that I could record my voiceover over the video that you're seeing. When we click this begin button here, it's going to take us to our first pre-assessment. All of these assessments in each course that I'm going to show you today are automatically graded, so it's a really easy way for you to keep track of students' existing knowledge and their progress on each course that you're using. In addition to the assessments, students also get to do some reflecting and see what their existing values and habits are around money. So you'll see here, this is asking them how do they track their spending, how do they already approach paying for an emergency expense, and how are they doing in general on meeting their financial goals. And making the social emotional learning connection here, what causes you to stress out about money? So students get to reflect on these questions before they jump into the actual budgeting activities. Here we find ourselves in a familiar situation for a teen. You want to go out with friends, but you don't have enough money, so maybe you text a relative to get some advice. This is where we really get set up to practice budgeting later in the lesson. So we realize that the Bank of Auntie K is closed, and we have to actually build our own budget, take this into our own hands. So the lesson then jumps into helping students build their own budgets by setting priorities first. After setting priorities, they're going to look at their current income, tabulate what they're actually earning from a paycheck. Then they're going to calculate their expenses so that they can budget for needs and ultimately also budget for some wants, making sure that they're considering their short and long-term goals along the way. So all these forms are interactive. They'll have to fill it out to make sure that their budget is balanced and that they're allocating enough money into savings. Up next, we're going to take a look at Venture Entrepreneurial Expedition. This is a really cool course where students get to start their own food truck business while learning about personal financial literacy skills along the way. Let's take a look at what the course covers. Venture is recommended for grades 7 through 10, but it can be used in any high school grade, especially if your students are brand new to the concept of entrepreneurship. It consists of 4 lessons that are roughly 20 to 25 minutes each, and it's going to cover budgeting, business startup capital, growing a business, and ultimately creating a custom business pitch. We've got our 4 lessons here: building a balanced budget, the entrepreneur in you, planning and building a business, and your business snapshot. At the beginning of the course, students get more practice with building a balanced budget, but then they're going to jump into a lesson that's going to cover how they have to take care of Uncle Sam. So all the different types of taxes they're going to have to pay as an individual and as a potential small business owner. Like all of the courses that we're showing you today, this one also has built-in assessments, both pre and post, so you'll be able to keep track of student scores from your teacher dashboard. I'll show you how to do that in just a bit. In addition to the personal finance skills that students are going to develop in Venture, they also have to go through some lessons that focus on personality type. Because as we all know, you have to be a really specific type of person to start your own business. So they're going to meet real-world entrepreneurs and hear some stories from other people who have made the jump from working for someone else to starting their own company. It's going to be very honest with them about the risk involved because we want students to make a very informed decision if they decide to actually go down the path of starting their own company. Now we're getting into the really fun part of the course where students get to customize their own food truck So everything from the menu to the color scheme of the truck, the logo, the name of it. And then they actually have to do some market research and figure out who their target customer base is. And this is going to determine where they park the truck, who their competitors are, and what their strategy is going to be as they market this business to the public. The next course in our financial wellness playlist is Money Moves, Modern Banking and Identity Protection. Let's take a look at what the course has to offer, and then we'll jump into another lesson and see what it looks like on the student side. Money Moves is recommended for 9th through 12th grade. It consists of 4 lessons that are about 15 to 20 minutes each, and it's going to go over introductory financial concepts, modern digital banking, identity theft and fraud protection, and peer-to-peer transactions. So if your students are using any type of digital payment apps, this is a great starting point for educating them on how to stay safe. This is the home screen that students see when they first go into the Money Moves course. You can see all 4 lessons here: introductory financial concepts, modern digital banking, identity theft and fraud protection. Let's look at peer-to-peer transactions. In this lesson, we meet Hannah and her friends. They're planning to go to a concert. So it's basically just letting students go through a realistic social scenario where they might have to use a peer-to-peer payment app. So as they make their plans to attend the concert, they decide who's going to buy the tickets, how they're going to pay each other, and that's basically what starts Hannah down the path of learning which type of peer-to-peer payment app is best for her. Up next, students are going to lead Hannah through a conversation with her friend Connor. It's actually really cool because they're talking about peer-to-peer payment apps and they're doing some peer-to-peer learning here because Connor's a little bit more experienced with using mobile banking and payment apps. So he's going to show her this Meteor Pay app that he uses and then lead her through basically a rundown of how you can do a side-by-side comparison with different apps and see which one's best for you based on the security features, how many of your friends or other people in your network use the same app, which usually makes it easier and more convenient to use, and what the fees are. Students can learn about all these different ways to evaluate these apps to figure out which one's best for them. After they do some side-by-side comparisons and ask themselves some important questions, they'll get a readout like this that shows them which app in the game actually makes the most sense for Hannah. So they get to choose Meteor Pay in this example. Then they'll review an actual transaction in this app to see if there's any mistakes that are made. In this example, we see that her friend Connor's email is incorrect, which would mean that she might end up sending the money to the wrong person. So it's just trying to train students to keep their eyes open for things like this when they're using payment apps. This playlist is really coming together now. We've already talked about financial literacy skills, entrepreneurship, and digital modern banking. Now we're going to talk about financing higher education with the Pathways course. Pathways Financing Higher Education is great for 9th through 12th grade. Never too early to talk about this subject. It consists of 5 lessons that are about 15 to 20 minutes each. It's going to talk about return on investment when it comes to higher education, understanding financial aid, student loan basics, budgeting for your loans, and repaying loans responsibly. Here's the intro menu to the course. Let's go ahead and start with the Identifying Your Goals lesson. In this lesson, we're going to meet Mr. Jones, who is going to help us identify some of our values as a student as we start thinking about what our plans for higher education are. This activity with Mr. Jones is going to help students identify their existing priorities around higher education, what's really going to motivate them in making different choices about what schools to attend, how to pay for it, how much they want to spend, the location they would like to be in. Really just going to give them a holistic way of thinking about how to make decisions around higher education. And at the end, they're going to get this really cool personalized chart that shows them kind of what their existing traits are when it comes to making these choices. We've got one course left in our playlist. The final one for today is going to be Marketplaces Investing Basics. This is a great way to introduce your high school students to the world of the stock market and just financial marketplaces in general. Marketplaces is recommended for 9th through 12th grade. It consists of 5 modules and it takes students roughly 60 minutes to complete the full course. It's going to cover financial markets and exchanges, the government's role in the economy, growing a company through financing, and building an investment portfolio. Students will have access to a map of different areas and topics to explore related to marketplaces. The first thing they're going to do is go into a stock exchange. Students will start making the connections between what they're seeing on the stock exchange, the news coverage of the events of the stock market, and how all of the various industries, people, countries, and governments are interconnected to make up the global economy. Students will also go through an interactive history of financial markets before they practice creating their own investment portfolio on a modern stock exchange. Now that you've seen all 5 high school financial wellness resources, let's build your playlist. The first thing we need to do is set up your Everfi teacher account. Go to everfi.net to get started. Once you're on the website, click the blue register button, and then click where it says teacher on the right side. Next, enter your state, and then type in the name of your school. Click the next button, and then enter your account details, so first name, last name, your school email address, then set up a password for yourself. And this next step is where you're going to really start building that financial wellness playlist. So where it says select a course, scroll down until you see Everfi Financial Literacy for High School. Go ahead and click that. Click I agree to the terms and click next. On your teacher dashboard, click the blue Add Course button. And this is where you'll start adding the rest of the resources that we already covered today. So under the financial education section, you can start with Venture. Click the green Add button. Next, we'll add MarketWorks or Marketplaces. The name might change depending on your local sponsor. Next, click the arrow to the right, and we'll add Pathways. And finally, click Add on Money Moves. Now we have all 5 resources on our teacher dashboard. Next, click the Home button in the top left, and we'll set up the class for your students. You can see now that you have all 5 resources on the home page of your dashboard. Click the green Create Class button next to any of those courses. On the Create Class page, go ahead and give your class a name. This will be the name of the financial wellness playlist that we've been talking about during this session. After that, go ahead and select a start date. I'm going to use this for April 2021. My class size is going to be between 15 and 45, and I'm going to use this playlist for juniors and seniors. Next, click the blue Add Courses button, and check the checkbox next to the rest of the courses that you've added to your account. This will bundle all of these together in the playlist so that you can give access to your students all at once. After you have all 5 courses added, click the blue Create button in the top right corner. Next, you'll see your registration code. By copying this code and giving it to your students, they'll be able to access the full financial wellness playlist that we set up today. All they have to do is register themselves, and the first step will be entering that code. Next, I want to show you how to access the supplemental offline resources that go along with each of these self-paced online courses. Click the Resources button next to any course, and you'll see a lot of helpful implementation materials. So you'll have the course outline, curriculum guide, discussion guides, and lesson plans that supplement each of the online lessons. If you want to check student progress and assessment scores, click the Reports button, then select the specific course you want to check. This spreadsheet will populate with all of your students' information after they enter the registration code and start working on the lessons. If you ever want to preview what the course looks like for your students, click the View Course button. This will take you into a full student demo version of the course, so you don't have to worry about setting up a demo student account for yourself. If you ever need additional help with your Everfi account, click the Support tab and find your local schools manager. Send them an email and they'd be more than happy to set up a quick training over the phone or video chat. If you'd like to share any of these resources with a colleague or a friend, click Invite a Teacher in the top right, fill out your colleague's information, fill out the optional personal greeting, and recommend specific courses for them to check out. Thank you for watching today's Learning Lab. If you need any more information, please visit us at everfi.com/K-12. And make sure you check out our on-demand webinars for more trainings.